Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second part of the Resistance Honest Q&A. Probably will be the second and final part. I expect the novelty will wear off once this has been uploaded, but just in case you guys do want a part 3 or things are on your mind and you feel like the answers in this part are even more honest than part 1 and you want to find out more, then drop more questions below. You can ask my opinion on you yourself if you're really that daring. But anyway, we'll see about that. If I get enough questions, I'll do a part 3. Otherwise, we'll address these ones here in part 2 and leave it at that. Also, as a side note, I have tried to record this episode twice now already. Once last night, when I was muted the entire time I recorded it, and once just a few minutes ago where I got into the third question and I was muted again. So, yep, fantastic stuff from me. Hopefully it's third time lucky. And we will kick things off, obviously, with the note of, again, if you take offense in any way or don't like any sort of criticism, just don't listen. My opinion means fuck all. It doesn't matter. It's just because it's 3 years into the game. I want to give my opinion, and that's it. It doesn't mean anything. So, yeah, for clarity, please don't kick up a fuss if I mention your name, because I've just said now not to listen. Anyway, first question is from Winchester. He asks me who the best Sam and Tyrone duo is. Now, this is an interesting one because the meta kind of moved away from Beta Squad a good couple of years back now. So, it is hard for me to remember most of the people who had those setups. I think it was Cody and Jared were a very good pair. And then the main one that sticks out to me would be Pep and Adrian. And Conqueror, obviously, very good Tyrone too. I don't know who his main Sam partner was. But yeah, those are some of the main examples I can think of. Pep and Adrian would be number one. They were just the most consistent and well-rounded, but the other players I mentioned were terrific Beta Squad players as well. So yeah, something that I'd be able to answer more clearly a couple years back, but still some clear names in there anyway. Winchester's second question is a bit more tasty though. He asks me who the best stalker is, and uses the definition of a stalker is somebody who harasses and stream snipes and is just generally a bit toxic. He gave he gave Joffrey as his example, and I agree, it's the clear main example. I don't even need to go into detail. Everyone knows how Joffrey is. Just surprises me that after 3 years he's still not got tired of his charade. But again, I guess some people have to do things controversially in order to stay relevant because they can't just get along with people and be nice. So, Kyrostatic, easy number one there. Very sad man, to be honest. I don't even need to say to be honest, just a sad man. And yeah, as for stream sniping, Rat Labs comes as the main example there. Without fail, if he wanted to face you, he'd turn on his game and within 5 seconds you'd be facing him. A couple of Nikolais as well were good at stream sniping, like IDK. He wasn't always prolific at stream sniping, but if he wanted to face you, you could face him 2 or 3 times back to back. So, yeah. But again, he doesn't necessarily fall under the whole branch of what Winchester's trying to say. And somebody who does and who competes with Joffrey for number one is Sparing Pickle. Now, Pickle has always actually been good with me. I've never had a problem with him, but that doesn't mean I can ignore what he's done. It's clear that he's had controversial opinions and distasteful opinions just for the sake of it. He's very vocal with his opinions on even religious beliefs and things that just shouldn't be relevant to resistance. And then when it comes back to resistance, we see drama unfolding in comment sections all the time, with him just putting his butt in where it just shouldn't be. He thrives off the drama, he enjoys it, and him and Joffrey are the clear top two. Sammy D Drums asks who the worst MM at using a meta build is. Now, I was racking my brains about this one for a little bit, and I was like, it has to be a Nikolai, doesn't it? There's so many Nikolais who use meta builds, and a portion of them just aren't very good at all. But I ended up going with Poland Hunter's Terminal Spencer. This isn't an excuse for the poor Nikolais, it's the best build in the game, but you still need to be always active and have a good aim. And if you don't, a team can easily stomp you. But when it comes to Terminal Spencer, Poland Hunter lost to no USB teams multiple times, and that is just unforgivable with the leeway that the security device timers have on them when you run Terminal. So, yeah, you can cycle for one shield and be really bad at cycling, and you're still able to interrupt a non-USB player if you're even mildly okay at Terminal Spencer. But yeah, Poland Hunter was not the best at that. So he takes my answer there for now. Ex Nihilo asks what I think of playing non-meta teams like Girl Squad. For me personally, I think it's perfectly fine, as long as I'm not, getting up at 1 a.m. to play a sweaty custom with the promise of us taking it super seriously. Then I'm more than happy to play in different types of team comps. I've played in solo queue, duo queue, played with babies all the time. I'm somebody who can take a loss easily, so I am more than happy to play in, as I say, teams that aren't meta, as long as we don't all have the mentality of we need to win, If we're playing Girl Squad and then someone's saying, oh, why are you doing this? Why are you making this mistake? And it's like, mate, we're just having fun. Then yeah, that's when it gets a bit dicey. But otherwise, I'm happy to play with no Val teams. I've done that before and had a lot of fun. I'm happy to play with whatever, as long as people don't ruin the atmosphere when using those fun builds. So yeah, more than happy to do that. Think it's enjoyable, and it, stops the game becoming stale. Now, back to tasty questions. Jill Sandwich asks who the best quitter is. We've got a few here, and I'm not going to include some of the top tier masterminds who are well known, but also if you've played the game for a consistent amount of time, then you'll still know these people. We start off with Paolo, the Jill main. If you played solo queue at any point or duo queue, you'd bump into Paolo at some point. This man, 95% of the time, quits immediately and never makes out of Area 1. I think I had him in my team multiple times, countless, tens of times. And yet, reality was, I think he finished one match ever. So he was incredibly dedicated to quitting. Others who fall into the best quitter category include Vampire. We know what he's like. I think I finished 2 matches ever against him. And then he has that extra persona on YouTube as well. So he'd go in like the most toxic people. And then Voorhees was also a Nikolai main who always rage quit. And then in his last couple of months playing the game, he just stopped rage quitting. So he had some mini redemption arc, but for the most part, he'd always quit. Another one is SWAT, SWAT XD, or SWAT with some numbers on the end. He changed his name a bit. This guy would trash talk and always quit as the door opens. Like, you wouldn't even get like an Area 2 rage quit like you'd sometimes get from Vampire. This guy would just wait till the very end, even if there was 15 minutes on the clock, and then he'd quit, disconnected from host every time without fail. And the final one I'll add in for now is Kim Jong-peng. I haven't faced this guy in years because he blocked me a good 2 years back, but I've seen him still since in random people's streams quitting, and when I faced him back in the day, he'd always quit as well. Voice line spams throughout, generally unpleasant to play against, and then he'd quit. And that was that. And is it Pennywise? Is another one who quits a lot. I might be getting that name wrong, so I'm not going to elaborate on that one. But I think Pennywise is a well-known quitter as well. So yeah, a handful of people in there. Jill Sandwich then also asks for the sorest loser and also the worst at taking blame. So I'm going to kind of group these two in together in a way because they're quite similar. I'll branch from the first one to the second one, but I won't make them separate entities. The sorest losers, I mean, to be honest, there's quite a lot of people who take losing in a bad way. They blame lag, they blame teammates, they just generally get really worked up and annoyed. And to show this is genuinely honest as can be, my main pick would actually be my good friend M19J88G, or Mike as he's better known as. Mike is a funny guy, but he's also a guy who rages constantly. Mike could be playing Survivor, and then he'll lose in a very fair match to a mastermind, but he'll declare that the mastermind was bullshit, and he'll rage quit. And then Mike will play mastermind, he'll lose to a Survivor team, and he'll say it's bullshit, even though it isn't. So whatever side Mike is on, he'll say that the other side is bullshit, without fail. So yeah, Mike is an easy candidate there. As much as I love the guy, it's just not even close. He's our British rage quitter, and we love him for it. Other people include, well, I feel boring for bringing his name up again. He might think that I'm doing this just for drama's sake now, but I'm not. It's just reality. Raccoon is a sore loser as well. Again, he'll blame people easily. He will, without fail, say, if we lose this next match, I'm done, man. And so on and so forth. He's very consistently tetchy and high maintenance, and yeah, it's not pleasant to be around a good portion of the time. And then just to show I'm not just going to, easily pick Raccoon all the time, I'll also pick one of the top players in the game who does get irate when he loses, and that is Uzu Valentine. As I say, really, really, really good Jill, but that takes nothing away from his sore loserness. To be honest, whenever I played with him, I always felt very under the magnifying glass. I felt like any mini mistake would be noticed and criticized. And although I know he lags a lot, he would without fail blame lag. Even if it was a frame delay, it would be because of lag, ridiculous lag as the reason. And yeah, the mastermind would never really get credit. So, yeah, that would be my third answer there. And then the worst at taking blame section is quite similar, to be honest. I'd say Raccoon for sure. I've never heard him blame himself, apart from one time where he was very obsessed with me, actually, saying that he respects me and all that. And there was one time I stepped on a trap, and it was my fault, and he said it was his fault, and it's like, it wasn't. But apart from that, he mainly blames people who aren't on the mic, who can't defend themselves, and just takes the easy shot. So, yeah, not good. Other people who aren't good at taking blame, again, include Uzu. I summarized it above. As I say, mainly lag was cited as a reason, or other things like that. And then the third one would be Scooby Gamer. Again, I don't need to say it. I called him part of the best Jan and Jill duo in the first part, because he is. But just because you're a fantastic player doesn't mean you're not perfect, or doesn't mean you are perfect, rather. Yeah, Scooby, again, if something even minor went wrong in the match, he'd talk about you in groups. I remember I got added to a group a few weeks after I played with him, and I scrolled up in the chat a couple of messages and saw him blaming me when it wasn't even my fault. I gladly take the blame when I make mistakes, because I make plenty, but yeah, that happened more than once where there was blame behind my back, and I've never really heard Scooby blame himself. He never is one to make mistakes, of course, but as I say, he's not perfect either, and I've never heard him take accountability. So, yeah. Next up, Lin Kuei says the top 3 creature MMs. Interesting question here. I've got like a list of a few. I'd say Dominic's Annette is probably the highest ceiling that a creature MM has. And I was always terrible against Dom's Annette, to be honest. So that gives a little personal backing. Rat Labs was obviously always very good as a creature mastermind. You know, with multiple builds, he'd be competitive. Lin Kuei himself, not the best creature MM player, but you'd at least have to sweat or work hard in most of the matches against his creature builds. His Daniel and Alex, anyway. His Annette wasn't so good most of the time. And then a couple of names that were brought to my attention when I was thinking about this yesterday. A player from a couple years back who stopped playing, but who was really, really solid with Annette and Alex, called Delight. I remember facing him quite a lot and always having fun matches. Obviously, my memory's hazy. I can't fully remember the matches, but I always do recall him putting up a challenge. And then the other one that I completely had forgotten about that was mentioned to me that is probably in the top 2 with Dominic is G-Town Tom. And I only faced him a couple of times. They were definitely really fun matches, but he just used Daniel in a way that nobody else could with creatures. He put on the pressure brilliantly. And yeah, I've seen his YouTube against plenty of really good SWAT teams where he'd either keep them down to a minute or he could even win flat out. So incredibly impressive to do with, you know, a run-of-the-mill Daniel. So props to him. And then the last mention for the best creature masterminds would be Joffrey. Again, his Annette, when he plays defense, is good, solid, strong. And then he's pretty good with a couple of other creature masterminds as well. Thomas Equinas asks, the MM I looked forward to going against challenge-wise the most. Well, Thomas Equinas himself is someone who I always loved facing. Because whether I was in solo queue or a team, I felt like it would be a good match. I've beaten him in solo queue, I've beaten him in a team, and I've also lost to him in solo queue in a team, so, you know. It was always good fun with him, and not just like a match that, you know, would pass by and I'd be bored of. So, yeah. But as for the most challenging mastermind I looked forward to playing against, it's difficult to say, because sometimes you'd face a challenging mastermind and then you'd be like, I'm not feeling this today, or I'm not in the right team, or whatever else. But with things balanced and me having enough of a good team and backup, I'd probably say my favourites to face were probably the super fast Nikolais. Now, by that I don't mean the best Nikolais. I'm talking about the ones who just switched off cameras and were hovering over you all the time. So in this case, Peter Zay, I think his PSM was pronounced. I probably butchered that big time. But it was XEY on the end and Peter at the start. And also Star. So these two weren't the very best Nikolais. Pietro could have definitely been top 3 or 2 if, you know, he was more willing to face the biggest players. But they were just super fast and fun on cameras. Like, you could get time back off of them, but you also had to, you know, just be super aware, because they'd flick through every camera within a half second, whereas someone like Lin Kuei is the best Nikolai, but he'd also not hover over every camera as frantically. It just made the games really exciting with Pietro and Star, so probably those two. And then we end with Conqueror, with a couple of questions, and one where I'll have to evaluate myself as well. So first of all, he asked for my funniest moment in Resistance. I'd probably have 2 or 3 here. One of them was, I think, in trio queue. Yeah, so it was me, Tacitus Kilgore, and my good friend Brandon. And we were on Abandoned Park. I have uploaded this video. We were running out of time. Brandon and the Random got the second core, and then me and Tacitus Kilgore went for the third. We got that core. Brandon and the Random died in the second core room in the meantime, so we ploughed to the exit and pulled the door at the last second, and we were like, phew, we've done it. But then Brandon and the Random bled out like half a second later. So we went from pulling the door and thinking we'd done it, to then realising, wait, now we're in overtime immediately, and we can't get any time back. And the sudden realisation was just really funny. And what made it even more funny was Brandon was furious. He was like, why didn't you guys get time back at the exit? And it was like, there was nothing there to kill Brandon. But he was incessant. He was furious, and definitely made a funny story. Another one would be this guy called Charles, a random, who was just your classic baby Jill, who was doing everything wrong. I didn't actually have time to watch the video back again. This is one I've uploaded about a year and a half back. Really entertaining on Casino, and he was just getting bit, using the wrong things at the wrong time, and I think he DC'd through lag in the end. So that was a good laugh. And then the very last one for funniest moments would be a very old one with me, Duckman Sam, and M19. So we were in this match against a really poor Annette, winning easily. And we had this baby Val on our team called Bistro. And basically, we just cruised through this match. It was easy. We pulled the door. We were ready to leave. And it was prison area 3, so, you know, it's not too hard to find the exit. But Bistro couldn't find the exit. He went up and down the sides, got lost. He went in the middle, got lost. And eventually, like 10 minutes passed and Bistro still couldn't find the exit. And we did everything we could to get him there. And this mastermind then had overdrive energy. It was still doing nothing. Like, we were just farming him for time, and we got up to, I think it was 20 minutes. We were like, right, we'll get up to 20 minutes, and if Bistro's not here by then, we're just leaving. And that's what ended up happening. And after that, me, Mike, and Sam were just wondering if Bistro ever made it out. The next day, we were like, oh, Bistro's probably still in there trying to find the exit. And yeah, it was very amusing, very fun, and yeah, entertaining. And the final question for Conqueror, it's a bit of self-reflection in the honest Q&A. He asks for the worst single play that I ever made. So, a couple of easy ones are some early videos I uploaded when I was a baby MM. Baby MM? Well, yeah, that too. There was one where I put a crawler in a room and buffed it and nothing else. And then as Survivor, me just running into obvious traps and also using fever skills at the wrong time and stuff like that. But at the same time, that's understandable. So, for one that comes with experience, there was a game against, funnily enough, Poland Hunter, who I exposed earlier. It was on Bemusement, we were in control, and then I just ran on the staircase in Area 2, when you make your way to the long side. He had a trap explosion there, it wasn't even slightly under the radar. The traps were sticking out, it was obvious, and I just ran straight into it. Terrible. I don't know why I did it. I was embarrassed afterwards, and I single-handedly lost us the game because I think I killed like 3 people with a single trap explosion. So, yeah, pathetic, and definitely up there with my worst. There was also a couple occasions where I pulled the door super early and caused snowballs. I think against, and then I can't remember specifics, but I pulled the door because we had 16 minutes and I just wanted to end the game, and then we ended up all losing, so that was quite hilarious. And also when I played customs against Linkway a few months back, I think my very last customs pretty much on Resistance, I ran into Linkway's trap reset on Bemusement in Area 1 like 3 times in 7 games, just because I was so focused on the cameras, but it's no excuse. It was piss poor, and yeah, very, very low quality gameplay. Can't remember any more at this exact moment, but if I do recall extra doo-doos from myself, I will comment them below. Anyway, that will wrap up today, and I hope you enjoyed another half an hour of honesty. Again, it's all just for good fun, honest opinions, because, you know, the community is dead, so why not have a bit of fun with it? If you want a part 3, comment below and let me know, and until then, take care and have a lovely day.